What's your problem? What's your problem? I don't get what your problem is.
Hi, my name's Adam.
And I'm Jason.
Welcome to What's Your Problem, where we discuss current issues in distance learning and education. We're ending this season with a Favorite Things episode, for which we reached out to distance learning faculty and gave them an opportunity to share their favorite teaching tips and tools with their colleagues. Here's Kaylin with more.
From the beginning of time, educators have developed tips and tricks to help improve efficiency, increase student success and retention, and advance the usefulness of tools for teaching and learning. In this episode, we have 3 educators who have written in to share their favorite things about their distance learning courses. Jason Adam, who has dropped by today.
Well, our first guest is here to talk about the Grade Center. Grade Center, your incubi and succubi of teaching online. Many a foe have fallen victim to your sword, but what if I told you all is not lost? What if I told you one of your own has tamed this wild beast? A knight in armor, brow furled, equipped with only ingenuity and wit. His name? He goes by many names, but you may know him as Stetson. Brad Stetson. This hero has agreed to sit down with us and spin his yarn about his tale of victory against the unruly Grade Center. Gather round.
Hello, I am Brad Stetson. I appreciate the intro from Jason. I do actually have a little bit more than my ingenuity and wit. I also have a sword. It's a Nerf sword. It doesn't do very much, but it's cool. So, Grade Center. There's a few really cool things in the Grade Center that you might not know about, might be able to use in different ways. I want to tell you about some of my favorites. My number one favorite thing to use are grading schemas. Grading schemas are a way for the grade that gets displayed to display differently than just a percent or the number of points. One of my favorite ways of doing this is for calculating final grades. You can set up a grading schema that says, hey, if the grade's between 90 and 100%, instead of displaying that percent, display 4.0. If the grade's between blah and blah, display 2.0. So that's a really cool use of the Grade Center, and it's a use of grading schemas, and then a total column that displays using that grading schema. Another small trick I like to use is to add a text column to make notes. So I add a column the students don't see, I make it invisible to students, and the type of grade is a text or word grade, and I can put in notes like if I gave a student an extension, I can keep track of what extensions I gave them. If they had certain excuses, I can put stuff like that in, which is kind of cool as well. Along those lines, I also like to sometimes add in columns that total up portions of a grade that a student might not necessarily know, like adding up all their exams and averaging those. I can kind of see what their exam average is or things along those lines. Also, smart views are a cool way of looking at just a specific area. You can look at a certain category of grades, and that's all you see in the Grade Center then. And it's just for you as the instructor to look at, and allows you to kind of hone in on where a student's at. So those are some of my favorites. If you're interested in learning more about them, feel free to give me an email. Again, my name is Brad Stetson. You can find me in Outlook, and I'd love to help you out.
Thanks, Brad. I recently had the opportunity to talk with another faculty member about open educational resources, or OER. The use of open educational resources is becoming more and more popular across higher education, and they have also found their way into several courses here on campus, including history, English, math, physics, and several others. I sat down with Dr. Alec Thompson to talk about how he has leveraged OER to provide political science students with a unique, engaging, and cost-effective alternative to traditional textbooks.
So Political Science 105, we just redesigned the course, and we chose to use an OER for our textbook in there. And that was driven for a couple considerations. One was accessibility. We know that students often have difficulty obtaining the textbook or simply don't obtain it in a timely manner, and an online resource is always there for them. The other big issue for us was that it's timely. We are not stuck waiting for developments to happen to a new textbook redesign or a new issue. And students can expect to see that material instantly. And allows for updates. Things can be changed or updated throughout the course of the term. And the final biggest piece for us is that it tends to be a little more interactive and dynamic. Textbooks that have links in them but aren't ebooks or aren't accessible to students immediately rely upon the student to go out on their own to find those resources. So if we have a court case or a table or a public opinion poll or a news clip or media item, those things can be hyperlinked directly and active within the course, and the student can tackle that immediately without saying you're going to do studying at a different time or a different location.
Our final guest wants to talk about a tool that oftentimes goes underutilized or unnoticed: journals. As a tool, journals are often confused with blogs and discussions. They're each quite different, however, and like the selection the incomparable Harrison Ford must make when selecting the Holy Grail at the end of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, you must choose wisely. What makes journals distinct from those other tools is that they're ideal for individual projects. Helen Taurus is a full-time English faculty member here at Schoolcraft, and she sat down with us to share a journal hack that she uses to make the journal tool work for her in the courses that she teaches.
What I like about the journals is that they're a low-stake assignment with a high-value outcome. In other words, like the discussion boards in Blackboard and online education, students have an opportunity to focus more on their critical thinking as opposed to formal writing. And what results in that is a very authentic, genuine response that you oftentimes don't get in other kinds of academic writing. So I like the journals, especially because I find that some of the most poignant disclosures have been made via the journal assignment, where students really feel like they can open up, reflect critically, of course, on the assignment prompts or the reading prompts that they were being asked to reflect upon, but they can also include some of their own personal experience, which I think really results in an incredible assignment.
So, as a quick recap, Brad shared a hack to help instructors customize and manipulate the Grade Center for their and students' benefit. Alex shared his implementation of open educational resources in a political science class and the benefits of moving away from a traditional textbook has had for students. And Helen shared with us a neat hack for utilizing the journal tool on Blackboard and how it has helped encourage her students to actively learn and engage with content.
What's Your Problem wants to hear from you. If you have an idea you'd like us to discuss in a future episode, or if you just want to drop us a line, send us an email or follow us on Twitter.
That's our show, and thanks for a great season. We'll be back in the winter with all new episodes, but in the meantime, you can catch up on all 3 seasons of What's Your Problem on our YouTube channel. So long!
What's your problem? What's your problem? I don't get what your problem is.
Welcome to Schoolcraft. Welcome to college.